The clink of silverware echoed through the dining room, sharp enough to cut through the air. Steam rose from the casserole dish. My mom slid toward my older brother, her smile warm and overflowing for him. Then her eyes snapped to me, cold and dismissive. "You don't deserve a seat at this table," she said flatly, as if my presence ruined her meal. Before we begin, drop a comment and tell us where are you from and from which city you're watching our videos. And after watching the whole video, don't forget to tell us, what would you do in this situation? Be honest. Tell me in the comments below. We read every comment. Let's begin. For a moment I felt the sting, but I didn't flinch. I took a calm sip of water, the glass trembling slightly in my hand, not from fear, but from restraint. The silence stretched thin. Then I set it down, leaned forward, and replied, "Then don't expect the $12,400 that kept this house standing." The room froze. My brother's fork clattered against his plate. My father's eyes widened. My mom's face paled, her hand still hovering over the casserole dish like she'd been caught stealing. What are you talking about?" she stammered, her voice breaking for the first time that night. I held her gaze. "The bills you couldn't pay, the mortgage that was about to collapse, the utilities you swore were under control. Guess who wired the money every month while you pretended it came from nowhere? Me." Her lips parted, but no sound came out. My brother shifted uncomfortably, his usual smug confidence cracking. He had always been the golden child, the one praised for achievements, even when he didn't lift a finger. Me? I was the one called dramatic, ungrateful, undeserving. Yet when everything nearly fell apart, I was the only one who stepped up. "Is this true?" my father asked, his voice low, almost afraid of the answer. Mom's jaw clenched. "She's exaggerating. Don't listen to her. She's just bitter." "Bitter?" I laughed under my breath, though it came out more like a choke. "I'm not bitter. I'm done. Done being treated like the problem while quietly holding this family together. You wanted me silent, invisible, disposable, and I played along, until now." My brother cleared his throat, trying to shift the weight off his shoulders. "You don't have to turn this into a scene, Harper. It's dinner." "Dinner?" I snapped, my voice sharper than I intended. "You sit there with your hand out, knowing I'm the reason the light stayed on, while Mom makes me the villain. Do you know how humiliating it is to eat scraps in my own home while covering the debts none of you acknowledge?" The air grew heavier with each word. My father's hands trembled slightly as he reached for his glass, unable to meet my eyes. My mom still looked defiant, but the twitch in her jaw betrayed her fear. "You should have just helped quietly," she hissed finally. "Family doesn't throw money in each other's faces." "Family?" I leaned forward, my chest tightening. "Family doesn't break you down, call you worthless, and hand your seat to someone else at the table you helped build. That's not family. That's leeches disguised as love." Her face twisted, but she didn't reply. My brother stared at his plate like it would swallow him whole. My father sighed, old and tired, but still cowardly. For the first time in years, I didn't feel like the one on trial. I felt the shift, like the truth had finally cracked the walls they built around me. And I wasn't about to let them patch it up again. I pushed my chair back slowly, the wooden legs scraping against the floor in a way that made every head jerk toward me. "You don't want me here? Fine, but don't you dare forget who held this house together while you treated me like a stranger." The room remained dead silent. No one spoke, no one moved, just the weight of the truth, finally out in the open. And in that silence I realized this wasn't just a fight over dinner. This was the beginning of something much bigger. The silence at the table felt like a noose tightening around every throat. My mom's knuckles whitened against the edge of the casserole dish. My father stared into his glass, swirling the water as if the right answer might appear in the ripples. Ethan tried to pretend this was none of his business, but his eyes flicked to me with something close to fear. I didn't sit back down. I stood there, every nerve alive, adrenaline pounding. "You wanted me invisible," I said slowly, my voice steady now. "But I'm done hiding what I've carried for you. $12,400. That's not an accident. That sacrifice my mother finally broke. You think money gives you the right to disrespect me? Her voice cracked like thunder, sharp, defensive, and trembling all at once. No, I shot back, my chest rising. Respect should have been there before the money. It's earned by how you treat people, not by the titles you hold in a family. Ethan shoved his plate forward, trying to change the subject. Look, Harper, nobody asked you to play hero. You chose that. I turned to him, the weight of years of swallowed words pressing against my ribs. You're right. Nobody asked me, because nobody thought I was worth asking. But when things crumbled, you were too busy bragging about your new sneakers while Mom cried behind closed doors. And Dad, I glanced at Richard, who shifted uncomfortably. Dad just poured another drink and said it would work itself out. So yeah, I chose it. I chose to keep us afloat. And what did I get in return? A seat stolen at the table I paid for. My father's lips parted, but the words never came. His silence stung worse than anything my mom said. Linda slammed the serving spoon against the dish, sauce splattering across the tablecloth. You ungrateful girl. Do you know what I gave up to raise you? I leaned forward, heat rushing through me. No, Mom, tell me. What did you give up, besides the chance to actually love me? The words cracked the air like glass shattering. For a moment, I thought she'd lunge across the table. Her face flushed red, her hands shaking, but no answer came. Ethan muttered under his breath, "Drama queen." I snapped my gaze to him. Say that again. He froze. His fork hovered in midair, and suddenly, he looked less like the golden boy and more like a child caught lying. You lived off the money you never earned, I said, my voice low but sharp enough to cut through the thick air. And you call me dramatic? Ethan, the only reason you still have a roof over your head is because I cleaned up the mess while you pretended to be the pride of the family. His jaw tightened, but he didn't fight back. Not this time. I straightened, my chest heaving. I used to think if I worked hard enough, if I proved myself enough, maybe one day you'd see me. But tonight makes it clear you never will. So let me make it clear too. I'm done being your scapegoat. I'm done carrying weight for people who only ever remind me I'm not enough. My father whispered, Harper, don't say that. His voice was frail, almost pleading. I locked eyes with him. Then say something, Dad. For once in your life, say I matter. His lips trembled. He looked down, and just like that, the last piece of hope I'd been clinging to snapped. I reached for my glass, drained what was left, and set it down with deliberate calm. This is the last dinner where I'll ever sit here begging for crumbs of respect. Linda's voice shook as she hissed, If you walk away from this family, don't come back. A bitter smile tugged at my lips. You can't lose what you already threw away. The scrape of my chair echoed louder than any scream could have. My legs trembled, not from fear, but from the release of years of swallowed pain. I walked toward the hallway, my footsteps deliberate, heavy, final. Behind me, I heard Ethan curse under his breath. My father muttered something I couldn't catch. But it was my mom's voice that followed me the longest, shrill, cracking, desperate. You'll regret this, Harper. Don't think money makes you powerful. I stopped at the doorway and turned, my eyes burning but clear. No, Mom. What makes me powerful is finally knowing my worth, and with that, I stepped out. The air outside hit me cold, sharp, almost cleansing. My chest heaved, but for the first time in years, the breath didn't taste like ashes. Behind that door was a family built on control and favoritism. Ahead of me was uncertainty, loneliness maybe, but freedom too. And deep down, I knew this wasn't the end. This was just the opening strike in a war they never thought I'd have the strength to fight. The night air bit into my skin as I walked down the porch steps, my phone buzzing violently in my pocket. I didn't need to check to know who it was. Linda. She would keep calling until her voice ran hoarse. I ignored it, clutching the railing with white knuckles. The house behind me glowed in the dark, the same house that had become my prison. But tonight, I was free. I walked to my car, slid in, and gripped the steering wheel. My hands trembled, not from fear but from release. The weight I'd carried for years had been ripped off my shoulders, thrown in their faces where it belonged. but freedom had a price. The next morning, I found out just how high. When I pulled into the cafe parking lot where I worked, a message flashed across my phone screen. Family meeting, tonight. Be there. Ethan's name glared at me on the screen. My stomach tightened, but I laughed bitterly. A family meeting? After last night, they had the nerve to summon me like a servant? At noon, while taking an order from a customer, my phone buzzed again. This time it wasn't Ethan, it was my dad. Richard's text was short, almost pleading. Please come. Don't make this worse, my throat tightened. Don't make this worse. As if I was the one who shattered everything. As if $12,000 and 400 sleepless nights meant nothing. By 6, I was parked outside their house again. My chest burned as I stared at the windows glowing faintly in the dusk. Every instinct screamed to drive away, to never look back. But some part of me wanted them to finally hear me, to finally choke on the truth they'd ignored for years. When I walked in, the air was different, heavier. Ethan sat on the couch, his arms folded, smugness plastered across his face like armor. Linda was pacing the room, muttering under her breath. Richard sat in his recliner, looking smaller than I'd ever seen him. Glad you showed up, Ethan said, his smirk sharp. We need to straighten things out before you embarrass this family more than you already have. I raised a brow, dropping my bag on the floor. Embarrass? Or expose? Linda whirled on me, her eyes wild. You humiliated me in my own house. Do you know what the neighbors will think if they find out you've been parading our finances like some kind of trophy? I stepped forward, steady, refusing to flinch. They'll think the truth. That you needed me and I delivered. That you're golden boy. I glanced at Ethan. Wasn't the savior you painted him to be. Ethan leaned forward, his voice low and venomous. You always wanted to play the victim. But all you did was throw a little cash around. You think that makes you better than us? You're pathetic, Harper. The word hit me like a slap, but I didn't break. Instead, I felt something in me ignite. Pathetic? My voice cut through the air like a blade. Pathetic is living off someone else's back while pretending you're a success. Pathetic is a grown man letting his sister keep a roof over his head while he spends his nights bragging to friends about money he never earned. His smirk faltered. I turned to my father. And pathetic is staying silent, Dad. Watching it all happen and never once telling me I mattered. Richard flinched. His lips parted, but Linda snapped before he could answer. Enough. You think you're better than us because of money? You're nothing without this family. Nothing. I laughed, dark, bitter, raw. Funny. Without me, you wouldn't even have this house. The room went silent. Ethan stood, trying to loom over me. If you don't drop this, Harper, I swear I cut him off. You swear what? That you'll finally take responsibility? That you'll finally admit you're nothing without the lies Mom feeds you? Go ahead, try. His fists clenched, his face red. But he didn't move. I took a deep breath, steadying my voice. Last night was just the start. I'm done being your crutch. You'll learn real quick what life looks like without me holding it together. Linda's face blanched. What do you mean? I pulled my phone from my pocket, scrolling through the bank app. I mean, the payments stopped tonight. No more checks. No more hidden transfers. If you want this house to stand, you'll have to do it without me. Her knees buckled as she grabbed the back of a chair. Ethan's mouth fell open, his bravado crumbling. Richard sat frozen, his eyes filling with something that looked almost like shame. You can't just cut us off. Linda's voice rose in panic. We raised you! You raised me to believe I was nothing, I said softly but firmly. Now I'm raising myself into someone stronger than you ever wanted me to be. I picked up my bag, slung it over my shoulder, and walked toward the door. Linda's voice cracked behind me. If you leave like this, don't expect us to forgive you. I paused at the doorway, turning just enough for them to see the fire in my eyes. I'm not leaving for forgiveness. I'm leaving for freedom. And with that, I walked out. For the first time in my life, the sound of the door slamming shut wasn't a prison closing me in. It was the start of something new. The door slammed behind me, the echo trailing into the night like thunder. My chest heaved, but this time the weight was gone. No more invisible chains, no more begging for respect. I walked down the steps, keys tight in my fist, and whispered to myself, "This ends here." The next few days were quiet, eerily so. No calls from Linda, no smug texts from Ethan. Even my father stayed silent. At first, I thought maybe they'd finally given up trying to control me. But by the third day, I learned the truth. When I pulled up to the cafe for my shift, I saw them, Linda and Ethan, arguing in the parking lot, their voices low but sharp. Linda's face was pale, her eyes frantic, while Ethan kept waving his arms in frustration. I stayed in my car, watching through the windshield, their words muffled but their desperation clear. The house payment was due, and for the first time, I hadn't sent the money. That night, a knock rattled my apartment door. Hard, frantic, almost angry. I opened it to find Ethan standing there, his jaw clenched, his eyes stormy. "You think this is funny?" he snapped, shoving past me into the living room. "Mom's losing her mind. Dad won't even look at her. We're about to lose the house." I closed the door calmly and leaned against it. "Good. Maybe you'll finally learn what it means to take responsibility." Ethan spun around, his face twisted. "You can't just cut us off. We're family." The word hit me like a slap. I laughed bitterly, shaking my head. "Family? You called me pathetic 2 nights ago. Mom told me I didn't deserve a seat at the table. And now suddenly we're family again?" He flinched, his bravado cracking. "You don't understand." "No," I cut in, my voice sharp. "I understand perfectly. You only see me as useful when I'm paying your bills. When I stop, suddenly I'm selfish. But you know what's selfish, Ethan? Living off me like a parasite while acting like the sun rises for you." His face flushed red, his fists tightening at his sides. But he didn't speak. He couldn't. I stepped closer, lowering my voice. "You want to save the house? Get a job. Cut the credit cards. Sell your sneakers. Do something other than sit around waiting for me to fix your mess." Ethan's jaw worked, but no words came. Finally, he shoved his hands into his pockets and stormed out, slamming the door so hard the frame shook. The silence afterward was almost sweet. 2 days later, I got a call, not from Linda, not from Ethan, but from Richard. His voice was tired, weaker than I remembered. "Harper," he said softly, "we can't cover the payment. Your mom, she's begging me to call you. I know I should have spoken up sooner. I didn't want to choose sides." My throat tightened, but I steadied my voice. "You already chose sides, Dad. Every time you stayed silent, you chose." The line went quiet. I could almost hear him swallow. Finally, he whispered, "I'm sorry." For the first time, the words sounded real. But they were years too late. "I'm not coming back," I said firmly. "You all wanted me small. You wanted me quiet. But I've built something outside of that house, and I'm not throwing it away to keep saving people who never once saved me." He sighed, long and heavy. "I understand." And just like that, the call ended. That week, the house went into foreclosure. The neighborhood whispered. The facade of the perfect Miller family finally cracked. Linda stopped showing her face at community events. Ethan's friends stopped coming around. And Richard? He disappeared into the background just like always. As for me, I thrived. The money I once funneled into their survival went into mine. I picked up extra hours, saved aggressively, and within months, I signed the lease on a new apartment. Bright, clean, and mine alone. No more suffocating walls, no more voices telling me I wasn't enough. One evening, while sipping coffee on my new balcony, I scrolled through my phone and saw it. Linda's message. Just 3 words. "We need you." My thumb hovered over the screen. For years, those words would have broken me, would have dragged me back into their orbit, desperate to prove my worth. But not anymore. I typed back slowly, deliberately, "You had me. And you threw me away." Then I blocked her number. For the first time in my life, the silence wasn't heavy. It was peace. And as the sun dipped below the horizon, I realized something powerful. I didn't lose a family. I escaped one.